So the two big forms that we're going to need to remember. This is the one that most people remember the most, slope-intercept form. I've been doing it since 7th or 8th grade. We did it last year in Math 1. And then the one that you were introduced to last year was point-slope form. All right, so slope-intercept form is the y equals mx plus b. In order for us to write the equation in this form right away, we need to know our slope, that's the m, and we need to know our y-intercept, that's your b. All right, so the slope is always this variable m, your y-intercept is always that b. All right, now the one that's probably the most useful is actually this one. Because to write the equation of a line, the two things that you always need is a point and a slope. So that's why this is called point-slope form. So that's what we say here. We must know a point and you must know a slope. So as long as I know a point and a slope, we can go right to point-slope form. The way I like writing point-slope form is this way. So this is the way that we did early in the semester. This is in Math 1, how I usually write it. But there is an alternative way, and it looks like this. And all this method is, think about what this is. All I'm doing to get from this version over here to this version, I'm going to add this y sub 1 over. And when I do that, it just gets put at the end of this little expression. So what you're looking at then, oops, let me do this one. This is the x coordinate of your point. This is the y coordinate of this point. And then the m here is still your slope. All right, so this is point slope. This is slope intercept. All right, and we're just going to do a bunch of things on that today. Hopefully we're all squared away. Hopefully we don't then forget it all again by Monday so that we can then operate what we're going to be doing in that next module. Okay, so all we're doing here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is just recognizing you're going to identify which form of these equations we're in. Is it slope-intercept form or is it point-slope form? All right, so nothing terribly difficult. We would hopefully recognize this one and this one. This is y equals mx and then plus your b, so plus a negative 10. So this is slope-intercept form when it looks like this. That's the one we should be most familiar with. If you look at number 2, same exact thing. This is slope. We know our slope is a 1. And it's slope-intercept form because not only do we know our slope-intercept, we also know our y-intercept is the negative 5. All right. Now, when we get to 3, hopefully we look at this, and let me make this a little less messy up here. This should look like this version right here. So this is what we would call point-slope form. And then I'm actually going to have you add one little thing. If I ask you what the slope of that line is, look up here. Notice how the m goes in front of the parentheses. So the slope for this one would have to be that 4. And then I said that this is the x coordinate of your point. This is the y coordinate of our point. So if I ask you what the point is, our point is 2. And then our y coordinate is 1. So that would be the point 2, 1. That's the point we used, and then that's the slope. All right. And then number 4, since we have this little constant hanging out at the end, that's why we know that this is point-slope form. If I ask you what your slope is, this is our slope, the 1/2. If I ask you what point we knew that allowed us to write this, be careful with this now. Notice how this is a minus sign in the original. So the fact that this is now a plus sign means that that 6 actually would have been a negative 6. All right, and then this minus 5 is the y coordinate of our point. All right, so that's slope-intercept, point-slope. All right, so with this one, I want you to do both. I'm giving you the slope, I'm giving you the y-intercept. I want you to write the equation of the line in each form. So the first one's super simple. Actually, they're both easy, but here's slope-intercept form. Remember what the m stands for, right? Isn't the m your slope? So that means the 4 gets slotted in right there. And then the b is your y-intercept. So that means your b is an 8. All right, so now point slope should look like this. And we're going to write it in this form now where this y sub 1 is on the end here. So what we know for sure is our slope. So we're still going to take this m and we're going to replace it with a 4. But in order to do point slope form, we need a point. So we need to understand when we are crossing the y-axis, so think about it on a graph, here's 8 on the y-axis, isn't that the point 0, 8? That's the point that we would be using. So I would take the x coordinate of that point, which is 0. So I'm going to slot the 0 right here. And I would take the y coordinate of that point. So I'm going to erase the y. And the y coordinate of this point is your 8. And that's our point slope form. What should happen all the time, if we simplify point slope form, we better get the exact same thing we would get in slope intercept form. So just think, couldn't I now just distribute, which really just gives me a 4x plus an 8? Don't these two forms end up looking identical? Okay, so we can always simplify that to get the slope intercept form. All right, so this one, y equals mx plus b, should be the super easy one. Our slope is the -3. Our y-intercept is a -2. So if I had you do this, if you put plus a -2, I wouldn't mark that wrong. It's fine, it's correct. But just understand when it becomes like a multiple choice question, when we're adding a -2, we would really just write that as a -2. All right. Point slope form. So m and then x minus the x coordinate and then plus whatever your y coordinate is. Our slope is again the -3. So that still goes out in front of everything. Remember, our y-intercept always has an x coordinate of 0. So that's really just the x coordinate of 0. So you throw your 0 in here. And then our y coordinate in that point is the -2. So either plus a -2 or -2. All right. So if you were given the slope and the y-intercept, this is probably your best bet. It's the easiest one. Most of the time, though, you are not given your y-intercept. So if I now go to number 7, when this says given the point and a slope, write the equation of the line in each form, we can't jump right to slope-intercept form. What we're given is a slope and we're given a point. So understand, a point and a slope means we probably want to use point slope form first. That's our best bet. Okay, so I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to write out the general form, just the formula that we need to get memorized. And then we're substituting in the information into the appropriate variable. So our slope in this case is a 1/2. So the 1/2 gets placed right there. Let me do blue with the points. So my x coordinate of this point is 12. So the 12 is going to get substituted in for that x. So we do x minus a 12. And then the y coordinate of this point is a 5. So we get rid of the y sub 1, and we just do plus a 5. That's point slope form. Okay. Many times, though, we may want to put it in the slope intercept form, and I want each form in this case. So the way we would now do slope intercept form from that is just recopy the original one that we just had over here. So I'm just going to recopy it. And then we're just going to clean up the right-hand side. So you're going to take your half, you're going to distribute it. And so the 1/2 times x would just be a 1/2 x. And then half of 12 would be 6. And then add that 5. Combine some like terms there. We know that the -6 and a 5 make a -1. This is our slope intercept version of this. Okay. So this is point slope, and this is our point or our slope intercept. All right. Next one, same thing. You want to, since you're given a point and a slope, it would only make sense to start with point slope form. So that is m, and then x minus the x coordinate, and then on the back side, just add your y coordinate. Here we go. Slope is 2, so that's going to go right there for our m. M is always our slope. So that's our 2. And then make it to the points. The x sub 1 means our x coordinate. So now just be careful with this. Our x coordinate is a -2. So instead of the x sub 1 right here, I'm going to plug in a -2. So as I plug this in as a -2, notice how we get this little double negative in there. So we would ultimately here say x plus 2. All right, we'll change that here in a moment. The y coordinate is just the y coordinate of that point. That's a 4. So we replace this with a 4. All right, and then like I mentioned, this little double negative here, since we were subtracting a -2, we would change this to be a +2, and then that would be our point slope form. Okay, and then if I now ask you to write this in the slope intercept form, you're just recopying this initially. You don't have to recopy it. You could start to simplify right away. All right. So distribute your 2. So y equals a 2x plus a 4. And then you still got the extra 4 hanging out at the end. We can now do 4 plus 4, and then that should give us our 8. Okay, easy enough, hopefully. Nice way to start, I would hope. Last one of those, I think, because then I gave you some graphs and tables on the next page. Yeah. Do number 9 real quick. Make sure we got this. Since you were, again, given a point and a slope, you would probably want to start in point slope form. And then once we have that, you just simplify that in order to put it into slope intercept form. All right, just take a minute, see if we got a handle on this. All right, let's see what we got here. Here's our slope. I'm telling you your slope, it's a -3. So it's a -3. And again, I gave you another one of these just to make sure. This is one thing to be careful of. Sorry, to be kind of the most common mistake with these. It's always x minus to start. And then you want your x coordinate. So since our x again is a -4, the minus sign is already there. So when we come to this spot right here, we are replacing that with a -4. So you should once again get that double negative. Okay. And then tack on the 7, that's our y coordinate. So that our final answer is x plus a 4 inside, and then plus your 7. Okay. So then over here now, to start to solve this, we're going to distribute the -3. So -3 times x, -3 times a 4 is a -12. And then add your 7. Combine our like terms here. And if you got that, then we're good. All right. All right, good. All right, so now next page. What if I give you different stuff? So now let's say I gave you an equation, 10 and 11. You better be able to do these. You've been doing these for many years now. I am telling you to put this into slope intercept form. So all I want is this version, y equals mx plus b. So you should be able to look at that graph, identify the slope, identify your y-intercept. Even after a long break, this is something you better be able to do. All right. Even with minds that are mush, we should be able to do that. I'll make it bigger too, since most of you don't have packets right now, or this is printed.
All right. Y-intercept should be easy, right? Like this should be the easiest of these. Here's our y-intercept. Our line definitely crosses the y-axis at a positive 3. So then the question is, what's our slope? So as we follow this line, we want to make sure we're getting good corners so that we can count well. All right, so here's definitely a point we want to use. But if you notice, we don't really get a nice perfect corner until we get all the way down right here. Those are really the only 2 points you could pick that would allow us to count accurately. Okay, so from this point to this point, we can do one of 2 things. I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to go up 1. Pen will work. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I just went up 7. And then from there, I'm going to go left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I went left 5. So in terms of signs, that's a positive 7 and a negative 5. So my slope is a negative 7/5, and then x plus a 3. All right. All right, next one. Same thing. Speed this up a little now. The review, we know our y-intercept's a negative 1, so we can do y equals mx plus a b, so we know that's going to be a minus a 1. And then from this point, we get a few better options. In this case, you get a lot of points you could pick to count. But we can go up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1. So up 2, left a 1 is a 2 over a negative 1. So that slope should be a negative 2. All right. Now, that's what you've done the most of. You did these almost exclusively in your 7th grade, 8th grade, whenever you would have been introduced with this. What you would have seen a little bit last year is now, let's say we get this equation, where if I tried to do y equals mx plus ab, the slope we can find, but our b now, notice how it is not a nice integer value. And what you don't want to do is look at that when we don't really know what that is and just guess, it looks like it's halfway through, and then just say it's a 1/2. We don't want to guess that. So for doing slope intercept form right now is a problem because we don't really know what that y-intercept is. So that is when now knowing a point slope form is going to work. So we don't want to do this way. We now want to do y equals the m and then x minus x sub 1 plus your y sub 1. We want to do point slope form. So let's find our slopes. Let's find some good points to count between. We're going to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. I'm sorry, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, or up 1, left 2. But I think I did down 1, right 2. So that's a negative 1 over a 2. So that's our slope. Oops. All right. Remember what these now mean. All right. This here, we need a point. We need any point that is on that line. So notice how I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let me get rid of this one because we don't really know what that point is. I have 6 points marked. You can pick any of those 6 points. So if I label that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cam, give me one of those. Which one do you want to use? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? All right, so if he picks 3, that is the point negative 5, comma 0. So what we're going to do is the x coordinate of that point is this negative 5. So we're going to replace this with, let me not do red, a minute.
Maybe I will because my computer's freezing a little bit. That's our -5. And then we need our y-coordinates. The y-coordinate of that point is a 0. So then we plus a 0. Notice this little double negative here. We would add those. All right. However, Vicky, give me another point other than 3. What are you going to pick, Vicky?
5.
All right, so she picks 5. That is the point -1, -2. All right, if we just -1 and then -2. So her equation would look like this. Same slope, but when we do x minus x sub 1, the x-coordinate is a -1. So we're going to replace this with a -1. And then the y-coordinate is a -2. So we do a -2 on the end. These are both correct answers. You really could have used any point on this. Both of those are correct. Real quick now, watch what's going to happen and why this is going to be the same. If I now distribute like we did before, take the -1/2 and then the -1/2 times 5, I promise is a -2.5. Let's do this as a decimal. So this is our slope-intercept version. Distribute this one now. -1/2 x -1/2 times a 1 is a -1/2 minus a 2. Isn't a -1/2 decreased by 2 also a -2.5? So don't they both produce the same exact slope-intercept form equation? All right, that's why you can use any point on there. Yeah, Kim? That's why it's a good question. Because for the sake of multiple choice and grading it and all that, there's a reasonable chance there's a yes here, but you're going to want to know both for sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. 13. What time do we even get out of here now, Mr. Kubitz? It's 30. What's this class? 35 minutes? So 10:05? Okay. All right. Let's try to get at least this one more done here. So point slope form. All right, again, we don't know what this y-intercept is, so that's why we can't really use slope-intercept form. We don't want to guess what this is. It's a decimal. So if we find this point, here's a good point. So what we're doing is we're going to go up 1 and then right 1, 2, 3, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. So our slope is 1/3. And then now pick any point you want. Like all of these points are fine. I'm going to pick this point over here. I'm going to use 8, 5 as my point. So what that just means is the x-coordinate of 8 is going to go right here. So we get rid of that, put in your 8. And then the y-coordinate of this point is a 5. So we put the +5 right here. All right. All right. And then last one, the one thing I wanted to do, we might only get one of these done right now. Let's say I give you a table. And if I wanted both point slope form and slope intercept form, in order for us to do slope intercept form, we need to know our slope and our y-intercept. So remember what our slope is when it's a table. It's the change in y's over your change in x. So look at what's happening to our y's. We're going to go up by 3, up by 3, up by 3. So +3, +3, +3, +3. And so my change in y is a +3. My x's over here are increasing by 1. So +1, +1, +1. So that tells me that my slope is 3. However, we don't necessarily know our y-intercept, correct? Because the y-intercept, we could figure it out, like go to 2, 1, and then 0. We know that our y-intercept should be the y-coordinate right here. So we could figure that out. We can work backwards so that we would know at 2, I would have had to have been at 1, and then a -2, and then a -5. We can work backwards to figure that out. That's valid. But let's say we had to go back a long way. We wouldn't necessarily want to have to do that. This would be a nice way to write this equation without having to work backwards, because our slope is still going to be 3. And you can pick any point you want now in this table. So I'm just going to pick, I'll pick 4, 7 is the point that I'm now going to pick. So that means I'm going to come over here, and for my x, I have a 4. And for my y, this point has a y coordinate of 7. But again, you could pick any of the points that would be in this table. All right. All right. With that, a couple minutes. I think there's only one left, right? Yeah. So hopefully we don't forget all of this now after another little break before Monday. And then we'll jump into module 4 officially on Monday. If you're in the building on Monday, we'll have the copies for you. If not, the packet pickup is Tuesday night and then Thursday night. Okay, or if you're in the building on Thursday, we'll have packets for you on Thursday also. Okay, and if not, just do your best if you can't get to the packet pickup and you're not going to be in the building. All right. So no homework, you're clear. I'm not going to be that bad and give you homework on the first night back. All right, so take the weekend and then we'll dive in officially again on Monday. All right. All right. See you guys. Screwwitz, are you there? Everybody's frozen on me right now. You do, yeah. You go to advisory. Yeah, second period. Yeah.